Thank you and welcome. Today we have Florida International University, a university which says what makes FIU different. So we'll understand that today. And today the name of the university, as I mentioned, is Florida International University. Is located in Florida. The country is US. The program offered a master's MBA. The name of the presenter is Miss Stacy Bernard. Now, something about Stacy. Stacy Bernard currently serves as a manager for global recruitment and operations at Florida International University, Chapman Graduate School of Business. Stacy has over 15 years of experience in admission and recruitment and currently focuses on all aspects of international student recruitment and operations. She is an expert in agent management, partnership building, domestic and international credential evaluation, and student admissions. Please welcome Stacy Bernard. Stacy, you there?
I am. Thank you so much for having me today.
Okay. And Stacy will be taking a very important topic. It is how to select university for study abroad. Stacy, the stage is all set for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Give me just one moment and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Which one is this? There we go. All right. Is everyone able to see my presentation? Excellent.
Yes, we are able to see.
Excellent. Thank you again so much for joining me today. My name is Stacy Bernhard, and I am the manager for global recruitment and operations at Florida International University's Chapman Graduate School of Business. We are located in Miami, Florida, and today I'll be sharing two things with you. I'll share with you some information and tips for how to choose a university for study abroad, which I have done myself, and also share some information about the university, about FIU, which I am also an alumni of. So I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding choosing a university for study abroad or for studying at FIU. So some things to consider when you are starting to plan out your journey for study abroad. First, I really recommend that you identify what your essentials are. It's really important to understand what are the key things you are looking for in a university. This isn't even just for studying abroad. This is also with studying within your home country. You should keep things in mind like budget. How much can you afford to spend on your education? What's the cost of living in this area? Are scholarships available? A lot of this information can be found online with a quick Google search. But you also want to consider what's the cost of living in that area. How much does it cost for rent for a home? How much does it cost for food? There are cost of living calculators that are online that can help you figure out what that actually looks like. It is incredibly helpful to plan all of that out when you're making your budget. Many institutions do offer scholarship funding, and this should also be something that you take into consideration when you are doing your research. Also, the tuition cost. This varies from institution to institution, and this will help you really figure out what you can afford. The location is super important. Not only are you choosing a city, a state, or a country to study in, you're actually going to be living in this place. What type of community do you want to live in? What else is there to do? Are you looking for something more rural or more urban? Do you want to study in a big city or a small town? Is there transportation? What type of public transportation is there? Can you walk everywhere? Do you need to have a car to get around? These are all things that are really important because this also adds to your whole budget. The next things that you have to consider are ranking and accreditation. In the United States, there are many different types of accreditation, but the highest and most widely recognized is regional accreditation. Regional accreditation is something to consider when choosing an institution, but also think about the rankings. Are these important to you? What ranking system is the most important for you or most relevant to your career field? Are rankings important at all? This is where your research will come into play, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And also, finally, the last essential item to consider when starting to plan out your study abroad is how does this program fit with your career goals? Don't think only about your major, but what the career opportunities will give you. Don't just think about the institution, the career plan, or the degree plan or the major, but what you can do with this degree. Now that you've identified all of these essentials, this is where your introspection and self-thought comes in. It's time to do some soul searching and get to know yourself and what your plans and goals really are. Studying abroad is a big decision and not something that you should take lightly. It's really important to listen to both your head and your heart when you're starting to make these decisions. One may be telling you to go one way and the other may be saying something completely different. So it's really important to really think and talk to yourself and talk to your family and talk to your friends about what is most important for you. And don't be afraid to make different choices than what other people may recommend. And be honest with yourself. Make sure that studying abroad is something that you want to do. Don't do this because you think it is something that's important, or that society says is important, or someone is pushing you to do. If you are not comfortable with being on your own in a completely different place, this may not be the best option for you. And also read about the culture, the climate, and everything there is to know about the locations that you're considering for study abroad. Every place is a little bit different, so you really want to get to know what there is to know about all of these different places that you're looking at for study abroad. Now is when you would start to do the research. Use multiple sources when trying to learn more about the city, the school, and their rankings. One of the first things you can do is always start with the school's website. Schools' websites are full of information about the university, about their international students, about their research, about everything you could possibly want to know. When you start to explore other well-reputed sites as well, you can also find some more information that may not necessarily be readily available on the school's website. You can also work with an agency like Education Abroad, and they'll be able to help you with more information on the opportunities that you have. You'll also want to research the requirements and to start figuring out what you will need to do to study at these institutions. Next, you can attend university fairs. University fairs are offered in person, they're offered online. There are lots of opportunities for these fairs now. Many of them are free of charge, so there is no cost for you to go and meet with university recruiters and get to learn a little bit more about the institution directly from the people that work there. The next thing you should do is really develop a personal relationship with the recruiter for the schools that you're looking into. This will have an opportunity for you to connect with them, answer any questions that you may have regarding the institution or their requirements. They may also be able to connect you with alumni or current student ambassadors who can answer your questions in a different way than a recruiter can. You also want to research the specific requirements for the institution and plan all of this out, because you will need all of this information as you start to go through and prepare for your study abroad. Now that you've done all of that introspection, all of that research, and prepared all of your mental stuff, now what do you do? The first thing you should really do is create a plan. Outline your essentials. You've already figured out what your deal breakers are, where you want to study, what places that you want to go, what your budget is, but now put it all in a plan. Figure out your area of study, what major you want to do, and find schools that offer that major. Once you've found those schools, know what country or region you want to study in. Do you want to study in the United States? Do you want to study in Europe? Do you want to study in South America, in Australia? What is the language? Are you going to learn that language? If it's not a language that you already speak, how will you communicate? So those are really important things to start outlining in your plan. Once you start outlining this, you're also going to want to outline your budget and know how much you can afford to pay for tuition and how much you can afford to pay for housing, living expenses, etc. And you'll be able to look at all of this when you're starting to pull out the schools that you're going to start to prepare to apply to. You can write down their rankings and you can find their post-graduation career goals and where the alumni from this institution go on to be employed. Next, you can start to make your list. You can find your preferred schools. Where do you really want to go? There are hundreds of schools within the United States, thousands really, if you're choosing a school in the United States. There are millions of schools worldwide. So really finding what school fits your goals, this will help you prepare that list. Once you've gone to their websites, you'll be able to see their admission requirements. And like I said before, every institution's admission requirements are a little bit different. So you're going to want to make sure that the requirements that you're outlining are for the right institution. So when you begin to prepare your application materials, you know exactly what you need. Literally just make a checklist so you can check things off as you're going through. You can attend the recruitment fairs to meet with the universities and really get to know the school. And you may want to interview alumni and current students. This really helps you understand what the experience is like from someone who is there now or who has been there in the past. It may be a completely different experience than what you're thinking it may be. This will help you understand whether it is something that you would be comfortable with or if you want to look elsewhere. After you've made your list of your universities and you've written down all of your requirements and you know what you need to do, now is the time to prepare your application materials. Every institution's application process is a little bit different, so you may need some different materials depending on where you're applying to. You're going to want to make sure that if a statement of purpose or a personal statement is required, that it's personalized for that institution. Some institutions may give you an essay prompt that you have to complete, but make sure that when you're preparing those materials, it is geared towards the school that you're planning to attend. Prepare for and take any necessary entrance exams. You may need to take the TOEFL or an English proficiency exam. What kind of scores do you need? What type of exams do they accept? Do they accept the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Duolingo, Pearson? There are so many different options for that out there. If you're going to study in the US, it would be in English, but if you're going to study in China, it may be in Chinese, or if you're going to study in Brazil, it may be in Portuguese. So you really need to know what language proficiency exams are needed, prepare for them, and take them. Give yourself plenty of time in case if you do need to resit those exams, it will allow you time to do so. Many of the exams only allow you to take the English proficiency test every 30 to 60 days. So this will give you time to do additional preparation if needed. Also, for the graduate level, you may need the GRE or GMAT exam, which are kind of like they're an entrance exam for general knowledge and proficiency. This will give you plenty of time to prepare for those as well. And most schools have their minimum scores listed on their websites. Some schools may also offer waivers. I know that due to COVID, many schools were offering waivers, and many schools also offer waivers during the normal times as well. So do that research, figure out what you need to prepare, and then plan for and take those tests. There are many study guides and many preparation pieces available. After you've completed your preparation for your actual studies abroad, that's when you would start to do the whole research on more living accommodations and all of that. And also the institution, many of them will provide this information to you after admission. So now that we have talked a little bit about study abroad options and how to prepare for your studies abroad, if you do have any questions on that, please feel free to place them in the chat and I will talk to you about these after the second presentation, unless Richard, if you want us to talk about that now, I'm happy to answer questions now, or we can go straight in.
That's wonderful information. Vincent says, actually the information was very clear. Stacy, thank you for all that detailed information on the parameters that you decided, how students can decide. I guess we can continue with the presentation, the university presentation, and if there are any questions, we can take it back.
Excellent. I do see that there were a couple of questions directly to me in the chat, and I will go ahead and answer these since these are very relevant to this part of the presentation. To contact specific recruiters for your institutions that you're looking at, many schools have their recruiter contacts listed on their websites. You can also reach out to the admissions offices at most institutions, and they'd be able to connect you with a recruiter. This will vary by institution, but you're also able to speak with your counselor here, and they can also help you find those contacts. In terms of writing an essay, every school may have different prompts. So when you are starting to write your essay, look at what their prompt is. For example, our essays are, why do you want to study at Florida International University, and how will this program support your career goals? So you're going to want to really consider how those pieces of information are relevant to you. We do look at your essay, and we want to make sure that what you are putting in that essay really supports what you're going to get out of this program. We don't want you to invest your time and resources into a program that is not going to be a good fit for you. So really do the research on what the institution's requirement for the essay are.